Is my crown on straight? Hey everyone, I'm Ronan, and welcome to Now ZE HIR. This week's episode is not a tea update. Gonna save the tea update for next week, just because the schedule got a little wonky. It's still like 4 or 5 days out from my actual 3-month milestone, and so I'm gonna save it for next time, talking about that. Here's what I am gonna talk about. It's now been a little over a year since I first came across the concept of HSP, highly sensitive people. This is an actual classification that is out there in the world that describes the way in which certain people sort of relate to the world. Somebody posted, a link on Facebook talking about their identity with the term, and I said, let me look into this. As someone who, as a child, was really a big crier and, to be honest, still kind of is, and who was just always generally described in my life as sensitive. So there's a test you can take, and I can put the link in the description down there. It's basically a checklist of things. Check off as many of these that apply to you, and if you checked a certain number, it's likely that you're highly sensitive. Some examples of items from that list. Other people's moods affect me. I find myself needing to withdraw during busy days. I have a rich, complex inner life. I am conscientious. I startle easily. That was one for me that was like instant check. I am deeply moved by the arts or music. That's just a few of the items off the list. And when I took this test, it did say that I was likely an HSP, but my reaction initially was skepticism. I mean, not only are you asking people to describe their own reactions and describe themselves, and anyone's view of themselves from inside their own head is going to be a little bit skewed, a little bit. Not only that, but so many of these things seemed to me to be things that people would like to believe about themselves. Who wouldn't say that they're conscientious? Who wouldn't say that they have a rich inner life? Is there anyone who really isn't deeply moved by the arts or music? But in the weeks and months that followed, and as I thought about it more and paid more and more attention to people around me and thought back on my own experience, I realized that those experiences that I thought were universal, that were just inherent, aren't maybe as much as I thought they were. I mean, there must be people who aren't deeply moved or experience that depth of feeling from a film or a piece of theater or a painting or a song. And it's really hard for me to imagine that, but there must be a reason why talking about being so deeply moved by the arts or by music feels like something that we have to admit a lot of the time. Also, there must be people who wouldn't necessarily describe themselves as conscientious, or we wouldn't have certain sectors of the internet, just to name a couple examples. So I started to think about it more, and my skepticism started to melt away somewhat. The other thing is, it's estimated that 15 to 20% of the population is highly sensitive. That's as much as an entire fifth of people. That means that if you got 5 randomly chosen people in a room, there's a decent chance that one of them would be highly sensitive. So it's not exactly a rare thing. Neither is it some way of saying, oh, I'm an HSP, I'm a delicate, sensitive snowflake. And it's not an excuse. It's a way of describing an experience and a way of uniting people within that experience, under that label. I've thought a lot in the past year or so about the term thin-skinned, and about how much it seems to apply to me just in general. It's very easy for me to be emotionally bruised, which is what it feels like. Really, there's this emotional impact, and then the effects of that impact stick around and sort of become this tender spot for a while. Or for a really long time. Some bruises go deeper than others. So finding out that there was a label, that it could be HSP rather than just being sensitive, just that little cognitive shift, it helps a lot. So hopefully I taught some people out there something new today. And if you're HSP, if you discover that you're HSP, I welcome you. I offer hugs. I offer hugs also if you're not highly sensitive. I'm a hugger. Come get hugs. if you want them. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to anyone who is here as a result of my appearance on Don't Panic Podcast. If you're unaware of Don't Panic Podcast, I will put another link down there in the description. It's a really wonderful, fun show. It's run by two people out here in Chicago who were really sort of acquaintances of mine before I went on the show. And I'm so glad they asked me. It's a frank discussion about fandom, geekery, sexuality, and of course, I talked a lot about the trans stuff and the testosterone and the transition and my blog. So if you're here because I was on Don't Panic Podcast, hi, welcome. Hope you stick around and subscribe. And if you don't know about Don't Panic, go check them out. Be aware, it is rated E for explicit. Thanks everybody for watching. I'm Ronan. That's Wadsworth. Always be changing.